It's non-modified. It's that car yellow.
Exactly.
It's a California car. It's a clean Carfax. It has all the documentation from you, including service history.
Are you selling me the car? Because I'm going to buy it.
Welcome back, everybody. My name is Gaston Rossato. This is episode 2 of season 2.
I'm Renzo Rossato, and we're in this beautiful location here in Miami.
That's right, Coconut Grove, guys. We're going to showcase it to you while we drive this beautiful car.
Beautiful car in this week's review is a 1995 E36 M3.
That's right, finished in beautiful Dakar yellow, flagship color for this car back in '95. Let's go for a drive.
Let's get it started.
Hey, real quick guys, before we forget, please hit that subscribe button right now, okay? These videos are weekly, don't forget. Always providing you the best. Most of the cars that we feature on this channel are our cars, okay? So they are for sale and available, and you can find the link to our website below at thebarnmiami.com. Today's car is actually a car that we already sold. My client and dear friend Alex did reach out and said, hey, can you feature my car? It deserves a spot. I said, of course it does, and absolutely. Alrighty, well, this is a very civilized car. It's a sports car, no doubt, but it's also a car that was meant and designed for daily use. It's just comfortable.
Yeah.
And that's the point of this car. Daily use, without sacrificing really the amenities of a just regular daily driver. So, but you have that performance.
No, you can definitely feel when you get on the gas, it puts you back on your seat. Yeah, it's a powerful car.
It's a quick little car. And, you know, the motorsport division for BMW really develops an entirely different car than the standard, in this case, 3 Series.
Right.
So you have the standard 3 Series and then the M-Powered,
Right.
the motorsport development for BMW, which is their high performance models, and the fact is it's a totally different car.
Yeah.
From the motor, the suspension, the cosmetic looks, tire size, wheels, bucket seats, just everything about the car is different than the standard car.
Provide you the power you need.
Is this car a classic?
Right.
And there's a lot of...
I think the short answer to that is yes. It's definitely a classic.
The short answer is yes, and there's a lot of things that make up that yes.
Right.
One non-official way, however, is what we just got. You know, we're stopped at a light. A dude walks by and he says, "Hey man, cool car." You get the thumbs up.
Right.
When you start getting the thumbs up on a car and it starts getting recognition,
and it's a car that's already, you know,
it's obviously a car you don't see
20 plus
much.
years old.
Yeah, you don't see it much on the road anymore.
Right.
If you can, so the unofficial way, if you can get a thumbs up, you're driving a classic, guys. All right.
We're very fortunate to have the opportunity to get access to these cars and do these videos for our viewers.
And we're just getting requests from people all over the place that they want to show their cars showcased. Originally, when we started this channel, it was our cars only. The cars that are for sale, not to promote the cars, but to educate and just share an experience. You guys have been so great and so responsive that so many of you have offered your cars, which we truly, truly appreciate.
Yeah.
So we hope we can get to all of them.
All right, guys, so we're here still in Coconut Grove. We pulled off to the side so we can show you guys a little more about this specific car.
Again, like so many different manufacturers, racing is a very big deal, and BMW is no exception to that. It starts back with a 2002, it moves into the 3 Series, the 320 turbo racing car gets introduced. It sparks a homologation special, which is the E30 M3. This is the following generation, E36 M3. A lot of that going on. That's number one. Number two, production numbers are fairly small with these cars, okay? This is a motorsport division vehicle. It's not your standard car.
And the demand for the car and the low production, that's gonna make it a...
And it's the benchmark car for its category, okay? So this is what everybody wanted, it's what everybody sought after. That's what brings the demand, brings the price. This car in particular is incredible. We bought it from the original owner in California. Very cool fact, it belonged to the Star Trek producer. He bought this car brand new. You know. We sold it to our family member who owned the car for about 2 years, and then we sold it to a friend, Alex. Dear friend and client, Alex.
Thank you, Alex.
I always say I had the first right of refusal on this car when they decided to sell it again.
Yeah.
All right, I want it back.
Let's dive in a little bit about the E36. The E36 was a car produced from 1990 to 1999. Now the M3 version, which is what we have here, didn't start production until 92. Now 92, it was not seen in the US yet. That was only in Europe. So in 95, which is what this car is here, is the first year we see this car in the United States.
Let's walk around the car. Let's take a look at some of the cool features this car has versus your standard 3 Series. First thing you'll notice is the front bottom bumper. A lot more aggressive, lower lip. You move on forward, we have the wheels, very distinctive wheels for the 95 with the motorsport.
And BMW engraved into it.
Again, another reminder right here, this is not your standard car. Bottom skirt's a little more aggressive than your standard car. Let's continue taking a walk around here. Now, obviously this is a 2-door car. The M3 version was also available, not only in 2-door, but 4-door and convertible.
Right.
So what we had talked about earlier, you know, BMW made sure that no matter what your lifestyle was, they were gonna accommodate you to become part of this exclusive family. I love this car. It's simple, it's not over the top, yet there's some very distinctive, small characteristics of it that do suggest that it is a special car.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a very simple design.
I feel like the E30, the generation prior to this, was a much more aggressive car, but that was a homologated car, so it had to look a little bit like the race car. Okay. This is already a production car.
I love the mirrors on this car, especially when you're sitting in the car, those little, they're not very big mirrors, you know, very sporty.
Yeah, I feel like they just did enough to make it look good, and then enough to complete with regulation, but they had to make it look good.
Exactly.
I know in a prior video we had mentioned the 355, well, not a prior video, but that 355 Ferrari is at 95 was a very transitional point for Ferrari, and that was obviously true, but I think now, after looking at this car, driving this car, I remind myself that 95 was really a transition for all automakers. Yeah. Okay, because there's such a big generational gap between the previous generation E30 and this car.
The E36.
Such a big gap in the technology, in the design, in the power, and everything else that comes along with evolution of a car. So you want to talk a little bit about the motor and what's in here?
Yeah, so this car is a 95. It's the first year they brought in the M3 to the United States. This car does have what's known as the S50 B30 engine. Now the US version, because the European version of that engine does come with 286 horsepower, while this one's at 240 still. Now in 1996 in the US, they came out with what's known as the S52 B32 engine. Now it's the same amount of horsepower, but more torque. So there's more power off the line. So it probably feels like a quicker car. It's an engine with the same amount of horsepower, but a little more torque.
Yeah. Now it's going to be very interesting to see how those cars will play into the US market once they hit that 25-year-old rule and they can be imported.
Exactly.
Because I know 95s right now, like this US spec car does bring a little bit more value because of the OBD1 computer versus the OBD2 computer found in the following year, 1996.
I predict that the 95 Euro spec cars was going to bring a lot of money because that's the car that has the 316 horsepower. And you know, that's a big difference when you're talking about 240 or 316. That's something that you already feel.
Absolutely.
So that car, when it hits that 25-year mark like you mentioned, that's a car I can see that will definitely bump up the value and bring the rest of the cars along with it, you know, up.
I agree.
All right, so you and I could both agree on that this is a classic. If it's not a classic yet, it's a future classic. Let's continue to talk about what makes this a classic and a collectible car.
You know, there's a saying that says the tide raises all boats, right?
Right.
If a certain particular car is gaining a lot of value in the market, all the mediocre cars will also bring up some value. But the real value is going to be find what we call the right car. And what is the right car? Usually it's a one owner, a low mileage, non-modified, very well documented, properly maintained car. Those are harder to find because these cars are so modified. It's so hard to find a 3 Series or E36, especially an M3, that's not modified.
Right.
This car was very special because it was owned by an older gentleman. Although he did daily the car, he didn't modify the car.
Right.
Okay. We have all the documentation from brand new, including window sticker, original bill of sale, all the service receipts, the clean Carfax. The car has the right ingredients to be one of the top contenders in that rising tide, okay?
Right.
But it's still in the driver condition category. It's not a museum car with 1,000 miles. That's not the case. And I think people can appreciate that, especially in the BMW community that's
They're a very passionate group.
very passionate group and are advocates of driving.
It's the ultimate driving machine, you know, that's what they are. So that's what people want to use them for, and I think that's the way they should be.
And I think it's so interesting how they use the word machine and not car.
Right.
Because machine suggests
that it's something more.
it's a little more than just a car.
Yeah.
And it's all about the driving experience.
So let's continue the driving experience, please.
Let's go.
Talk a little bit about the interior of the car. It's a pretty basic interior, and there's a few things that give it away that it is a little more than basic. And I think the main thing is the seats, these bucket seats.
Bucket seats with the stripe,
Right.
the M color stripe.
Exactly.
And don't forget,
The
when
M
you look
badge.
down at the dash, right between the tach and the speedometer,
You got that M badge.
you have the M badge kind of reminding you that you're driving. You paid a little extra.
I think it's really cool, this the AC vent and how they're bringing it up all the way over here.
Tilted towards the driver.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's kind of like they're leaving the passenger here in his own little space to enjoy the ride. He doesn't have to be responsible for anything.
All right, guys, so we're here to wrap it up. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're here every week to bring you a beautiful car and a beautiful place. And we appreciate those who have been supporting us, liking, sharing, and subscribing.
Thank you guys. Also, a quick reminder, okay? This is what we do for a living. We buy specialty cars. So if you or anyone that you know has one, please send us the information. We pay finder's fees, and we can also source a car for you, just like we did with our client on this one.
Exactly.
So, till next week, thanks again. We love you.
I'm Rossato.
And I'm Gaston Rossato.
Let's go for a swim.
Let's do it.